All right, folks, we got major developments taking place in the Middle East. We've got multiple fronts of war that are escalating, and things are just really heating up on a geopolitical scale. Everything that Christ warned us about in Matthew 24 with the increasement of wars, rumors of wars, and nation rising against nation, and even what the prophet Zechariah foretold. He said the day would come when Israel would become the focal point of all the world, and they would be pressured to divide their land. They would be pressured, and the nations would come together with one intent, and that's to heave it away. And the prophet said that they would become a cup of drunkenness to all the nations. And I believe, ladies and gentlemen, that we are seeing this getting closer and closer to being fulfilled in our lifetime. So today, I'll need you to buckle up. We got a good one. Let's go.
The following program is brought to you by friends and partners of End Time Headlines.
All right, what's going on, friends, family, listeners, viewers? We want to welcome you to the program. This is End Time Headlines, news and headlines from a prophetic perspective. And of course, I'm your host, pastor, founder, and voice of End Time Headlines, Ricky Scaparo. And again, we want to welcome everybody to the program. Listen, we recently got together with Pastor Tom Hughes of Hope for Our Times. He aired that podcast yesterday. We've had an overwhelming, amazing response. He's got a wonderful group of people there. And many of you, they're going to be watching this tonight. You have subscribed to our channel coming from Pastor Tom's channel. We want to welcome you, not only myself, but our admins in the chat. Let's give all of our new subscribers a warm welcome. All right, so before we get into this thing, let us know again where you guys are joining us from. We'd always love this is how we become acquainted with you. So represent your state, your location, if you're outside the United States, whatever the case may be. So again, if you're new, let us know in the chat or on the comments of this, wherever you're watching from, and let us know where you guys are joining us from. And listen, if you have not picked up our free app, we want to encourage you to pick that up today. This is how we want to encourage you to keep up with all of our content. Again, do not rely on social media because many times it gets lost in the mix of things, the algorithm. YouTube has a history of unsubscribing you, even when you don't unsubscribe. On Facebook, they've had a history of shadow banning and suppressing content. So get the app, go to your Play Store, go to Apple, Android. We got you covered. Whatever device you've got, download it today. Hit yes to push notifications. If you're watching this video, in the description of this video, it says download our free app. If you'll click on that link, it'll take you right to the page, and then you just pick it up. Again, hit yes to push notifications, and you're good to go. Breaking news, prophecy updates, headlines, all our podcasts, everything's going to be right at your fingertips. So, I want to give you, let's go to Matthew 24, guys. Very familiar passage. We're going to be reading from the New King James. This is going to be kind of our foundation for our entire update today. Again, very familiar passage. You guys that are regular followers of our ministry, you should be able to quote this. Jesus tells them when they ask him, what will be the sign of your coming in the end of the age? In Matthew 24, verse 6, he said, you will hear of wars and rumors of wars, and see that you're not troubled, for all these things must come to pass. And I want to emphasize that they must come to pass, but the end is not yet. Guys, look, things are increasing, they're intensifying, but the end is not yet, and these things must come to pass. Now, prayer is good, intercession is good, fasting for our nation is good, praying and fasting for President Trump and his administration. All these things are great. But at the end of the day, we got to remember that God is on the throne and prophecy has to come to pass. Again, regardless of who's in power and what political party is in position. These things must come to pass. But the end is not yet. For nation will rise against nation. Kingdom will rise against kingdom. And that's ethnos against ethnos, ethnicity against ethnicity. That's been going on for some time now, but it's going to intensify. And there will be famines, pestilences, and earthquakes in various low places. And all of these things are the beginning of sorrows. And I always want to encourage everyone that, listen, if you think this is bad now, what's going on, this is nothing in comparison to what things will be like in the tribulation. Jesus said that it'll be so bad in the tribulation that if the days had not been cut short, that no flesh would be able to survive. Think about that, church. So these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. So today, we've got a lot of stuff we're going to cover today. Okay? There are four, as we're speaking today on Wednesday, May the 21st, 2025. There are four major global conflicts that are all reaching a tipping point right now. 2025 is really turning out to be a year of just military escalation. So the first conflict that we see, that it kind of calmed down for a little bit, but now it's growing in intensification again, and that is Israel and Hamas. The Israeli Defense Forces recently posted on its X account that the IDF troops have begun extensive ground operations throughout northern and southern Gaza as part of Operation Gideon's Chariot. Quote, over the past week, the Israeli Air Force conducted a preliminary wave of strikes, striking over 670 Hamas terrorist targets throughout Gaza to disrupt enemy preparations and support ground operations. The IAF continues to provide consistent support to operating troops in Gaza. Thus far, the troops eliminated dozens of terrorists, dismantled terrorist infrastructure sites above and below ground, and are currently being deployed in key positions within Gaza. The IDF will continue to operate against the terrorist organizations in Gaza as required in order to, quote, defend Israeli civilians. Now, in case you didn't know, Benjamin Netanyahu has stressed how Israel, the military, is going to take over. Their attempt is to completely take control of Gaza. They're trying to cut the head of the serpent off, and we'll get more into that in just a moment. But I want you, just think about this. Think about all the massive anti-Israeli protests, or an anti-Israel protest that we witnessed in 2024, that broke out across college campuses in the U.S., and even there was demonstrations in other nations around the world. Now, think about the ramifications. What's going to happen if Israel completely takes over Gaza? Okay, so you got this going on. You got that forefront going on. Then you got Israel and Yemen. In case you didn't know this, the Israeli Defense Forces conducted another huge wave of airstrikes on the Houthis in Yemen. Quote, Israeli fighter jets carried out a wave of airstrikes in Yemen on Friday afternoon, targeting two Houthi-controlled ports in the west of the country, and threatened to eliminate the terror group's leader in response to the Iran-backed group's ongoing missile and drone attacks on Israel. Israel had waited until the end of the U.S. President Donald Trump's visit to the region before launching these strikes on the Houthis. Since the Israel Defense Forces' last strike on Yemen on May the 6th, the Houthis launched at least 7 missiles and 2 drones at Israel. This is the latest as of this past Thursday night, or last Thursday night. 15 fighter jets were involved in a strike on that Friday, dropping some 35 munitions there and destroying infrastructure on those areas. In response, the Houthis fired 2 long-range missiles at the Ben Gurion airport. This triggered sirens to be sounded across all of central Israel, including Tel Aviv and other regions there, sending nearly 1 million residents scrambling to bomb shelters. Then we have the very possibility of a joint operation between the United States and Israel against Iran. Now, we're going to get into a little bit of this now, but we're going to give you some brand new information that's coming out today in just a moment. But on Saturday, the Ayatollah there of Iran viciously lashed out at President Trump. And this came hours after Trump concluded his Middle East visit. Again, Iran's Ayatollah Ali Khamenei on Saturday launched a tirade against America and Israel, charging that Trump he called him a liar and called for the destruction of Israel. Boy, what a shock, right? Let me give you his quote. Quote, Trump said he wants to use power for peace. He's lying, wrote Khamenei on his X account. Some of the remarks made during the U.S. president's trip to the region aren't even worth a response at all. The level of those remarks is so low that they are a source of shame for the American nation. In fact, the Ayatollah, even after all of you remember Trump has gave Iran, let's talk about what Trump talked about and why he's responding to this. Donald Trump gave Iran an ultimatum. He spoke directly to the Ayatollah and told them that you either comply, when we talk about comply, end your nuclear ambitions, or there's going to be major problems. And the Ayatollah has responded, and he's made it clear that there will be no deal with Trump and Israel. All right, and we'll get a little bit deeper in that in just a moment. I want to go back to the fourth. Remember, we talked about the introduction of this. There's 4 major conflicts that are just escalating, right? So here's your fourth one. Russia and NATO backed Ukraine. Now, this past Friday, new information came out, and we learned what Russia wants to end the war. Remember, Trump has been in a long-going negotiation with Putin. He's had multiple phone calls. He's had meetings, and he's trying to bring, quote-unquote, peace to Russia and Ukraine in this conflict. Russia has made it clear that in order for them to end the war, here's what they want, quote, they want Ukraine agreeing to neutral status regarding NATO. They want no foreign troops in Ukraine. They want no nuclear weapons in Ukraine. They want a de facto recognition of Crimea and lost eastern territories as now Russia's. Number 4, withdrawal of key forces from these territories before a ceasefire takes effect. Again, that's what Russia wants on the table. That is a lot. In fact, there was a report that said that following the last conversation that Trump had with Putin, I guess trying to resolve this, trying to bring peace, trying to end the war, that Putin gave the command, and Russia carried out one of the worst or one of the greatest drone attacks that it has carried out since the war began in Ukraine. So this thing doesn't seem like it's calming down. It's not. It doesn't seem like any of this is going to be resided. So it doesn't seem like there's going to be peace coming anytime soon to Russia and Ukraine. It doesn't seem like Iran is going to back down from the threats of President Trump. It doesn't look like Netanyahu is going to cave to international pressure to stop going forward in Gaza and fending off the Houthis. And then we're going to get you into some. Now, on that note, let's go right in and we're going to give you the latest information. Now, before I show you these headlines, I want to preface this by saying this, because if I don't do this, then I already know I see the responses that we get. I want to remind you guys, we are simply reporting. Now, all of these reports that I give you, I'm not saying that I fully believe them. I can't fully confirm the sources that are saying this. I'm only presenting it to you. Remember, we're news and headlines from a prophetic perspective. We allow you to be grown adults, and you can decide what you want to do with the information, okay? So if you guys watched the podcast that I did with Pastor Tom on his program, him and I discussed for about 5 minutes or so, we discussed how there is a lot of nasty, scathing reports that are going around, rumors that are circulating in regards to the relationship with President Trump and Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu with the United States and America. There's, again, according to the reports, there's a lot of tensions building. There's a lot of conflict over the whole Gaza thing. Now, I want to show you the latest information on this. So I had to say all that to get you to this. All right, look at this report. This is from the Times of Israel. Quote, Trump is frustrated with Gaza war and wants Israel to wrap it up. All right, let's see what this is about. U.S. President Donald Trump is, quote, frustrated by the ongoing war in Gaza, and he feels it is the last issue preventing prosperity in the Middle East and wants the Israeli government to, quote, wrap it up, according to a Tuesday report citing White House officials. Now, that's pretty heavy, guys. They are saying that this has been cited from White House officials. So this is not from some Arab affiliate or Middle Eastern affiliate. This is coming, again, from White House officials. According to the report published on the Axios news site, over the past 2 weeks, Trump pressured Israel to open crossings for the humanitarian aid after assistance had been blocked since March. The report quoted a White House official as saying Trump was, quote, upset by images of suffering Palestinian children and babies in the Strip due to the blockade and Israeli strikes, and that he, quote, pressed the Israelis to reopen the gates. All right, Israel allowed just 5 aid trucks to enter on Monday, to enter Gaza on Monday, the first time any aid had entered the enclave in over 11 weeks after international pressure mounted on Jerusalem to alleviate the worsening hunger crisis after some officials in the IDF warned the political leadership that Gaza was on the brink of starvation. Aid was blocked from Gaza since the 1st of March, with Israel arguing that sufficient humanitarian assistance entered the Strip during a 6-week ceasefire and that Hamas has been stealing much of that aid. With the blockade necessary to pressure the terror group to release dozens of hostages it is holding. Again, guys, I'm just telling you right now, we don't have reporters on the ground in Gaza. So I cannot confirm or deny what is being told here. You're always going to get 2 sides of the story. You're going to get the left and you're going to get the right. It's very rare that you get a neutral report. Okay, so we're trying our best here to get you information from different sources. And again, you got to do what you want with that. I would advise you to pray about it. Because this, and we're going to show you, we're going to talk about the prophecy of Zechariah. We brought that up yesterday and Pastor Tom's podcast as well. According to Zechariah 12, Israel will be the hot button. On Tuesday, the UN said that Israel had given clearance to bring an additional 100 trucks into Gaza, though the UN officials said the level of crisis necessitated the entry of far more aid and that it needed to happen quickly. Quote, here we go, ready? The president is frustrated about what is happening in Gaza. He wants the war to end. He wants the hostages to come home. He wants aid to go in, and he wants to start rebuilding Gaza. Now remember his vision of Gaza. Remember the video that was released by his media team or the White House or somebody released it on a social media platform of the Riviera in Gaza. Now, again, is that going to be a reality? I doubt it. I don't see that happening. I said there's too many obstacles for that. Anyway, the president sees a real chance for peace and prosperity. Come on, my Bible prophecy people. Wherever you heard that before. The president sees a real chance for peace and prosperity. That alone, that phrase is the trigger. According to what? 1 Thessalonians, Paul said, when they shall say peace and safety, then it will be followed by sudden destruction. So here it's interesting. Trump wants to be the peacemaker in the Middle East. He wants to be the peacemaker of all wars. This is one of his goals, guys, in this 4-year term. He's trying to bring peace to Russia and Ukraine. He's trying to bring peace in the Middle East. So this is what, if there's any credence to this, if this has got weight to it, this report, then it would make sense if Trump wants peace and prosperity for the region, that he would grow frustrated with how this thing is dragging out. All right, he goes on and says, but the war in Gaza is the last hot spot and he wants it to end. A second official told Axios that there is a lot of frustration by this crisis getting dragged on, adding that the back-channel deal to release U.S.-Israeli hostage soldier Eden Alexander last week developed from that feeling. However, an Israeli official told the site that Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu doesn't feel pressured on the matter by Trump. So again, y'all see this, it's conflicting information going on here. Quote, if the president wants a hostage and ceasefire deal in Gaza, he needs to put much pressure on both sides, the official said. The White House, wow, let me say that again. If the president wants a hostage and ceasefire deal in Gaza, he needs to put much pressure on both sides, including Israel. That would include Israel. That means America would have to pressure Israel. The White House stressed Monday that Trump wants the war in Gaza to end, though American officials denied reports that Washington was threatening to abandon Israel if it doesn't follow suit. Now, why did they come out and make that statement? Because there was some nasty reports circulating. Again, and a lot of these were sourced from Arab outlets saying that if this thing doesn't go the way that Trump wanted it to, then he was quote unquote threatening to abandon Israel. Now, I don't believe that he said that. I really don't. If you were to ask me, do you personally believe he said that? I don't believe he said that. Now, why do I say that? Again, you guys know I call it like I see it. I don't care if it's Trump or Biden or left or right. I say this because of the strong support that this president has had historically for the nation of Israel. If we go back to his last term, his last 4 years, and when he put the embassy, he made a U.S. embassy in Jerusalem. He put the U.S. embassy there in Israel. He started the Abrahamic Accords. All of Israel rabbis, the officials there, Benjamin Netanyahu, all of these have said that Trump has been the greatest friend of Israel than any other administration. Now, it would be shocking to me that Trump would turn on a dime like that, especially when he's got Mike Huckabee there as well, who has come out vocally and publicly and denied all of these allegations that Trump is turning his back on Israel. But I will remind myself and everyone that's listening that as shocking as it may sound and proposed, eventually, it may not be today, and it may not be next month, and it may not be in the next year or even in this term of this president in the next 4 years, but eventually, the Bible says, ladies and gentlemen, that all nations will come against Israel, and that includes the United States of America, regardless of who's president. All right, the president is moving as quickly as he possibly can and working overtime to end these conflicts in both Israel and Gaza and also the Russian-Ukraine war. The White House press secretary said that, quote, the president made it very clear to Hamas that he wanted to see all hostages released. All right, now look at this. Meanwhile, the United States is still holding strong in the support of Israel, but that's not the case for other nations. Look at this headline, ladies and gentlemen. United Kingdom, France, and Canada all threaten sanctions if Israel continues its new offensive into Gaza. Now, isn't that interesting? Isn't that what we just said? Eventually, guys, all the nations are going to turn against her. Look at this. International pressure has been building on Israel over its new military offensive in Gaza that has left hundreds dead in just a few days. The leaders of the United Kingdom, France, and Canada threatened to take, quote, concrete actions on Monday. This was this past Monday, including targeted sanctions if Israel does not stop its renewed military offensive and continues to block aid from entering Gaza. Now, the United Kingdom has taken it a step further. Look at this. The United Kingdom suspends free trade talks with Israel and announces sanctions over the West Bank settlers. All right, check this out. We got a video on this.
For today, I'm announcing that we have suspended negotiations with this Israeli government on a new free trade agreement. We will be reviewing cooperation with them under the 2030 bilateral roadmap. The Netanyahu's government's actions have made this necessary. Madam Deputy Speaker, today...
Wow, the actions of Benjamin Netanyahu has made this necessary.
My honourable friend, the Minister for the Middle East, is summoning the Israeli ambassador to the Foreign Office to convey this message. I say now to the people of Israel, I want a strong friendship with you based on shared values, with flourishing ties between our people and societies. We are unwavering in our commitment to your security and to your future, to countering the very real threat from Iran, the scourge of terrorism, and the evils of anti-Semitism. But the conduct of the war in Gaza is damaging our relationship with your government. Despite
That's a strong statement.
the glimmer of hope from January's ceasefire, the suffering from this conflict has worsened. But January showed another path was possible. We urge Netanyahu's government to choose this path. The world is judging. History will judge them. Blocking aid, expanding the war, dismissing the concerns of your friends and partners. This is indefensible, and it must stop.
Wow, ladies and gentlemen, strong words there from the United Kingdom. Meanwhile, brand new report. We got to bring it to you right now. Brand new report. We've been hearing about this. There's been a lot of chatter about this, but this is a brand new report, and this is breaking news. We want to break it to you. New intelligence suggests that Israel is, quote, preparing possible strike on Iranian nuclear facilities. All right, the U.S. has obtained new intelligence suggesting that Israel is making preparations. They're making preparations, according to this report, to strike Iranian nuclear facilities, even as the Trump administration has been, quote, pursuing a diplomatic deal with Tehran. Multiple U.S. officials familiar with the latest intelligence allegedly told CNN such a strike would be a brazen break with President Donald Trump, U.S. officials said. Let me read that again. Such a strike would be a brazen break with President Donald Trump. It could also risk tipping off a broader regional conflict in the Middle East. There you go. Wow. Now, what did we say at the beginning of this, ladies and gentlemen? There will be wars and rumors of wars, and be not troubled, for these things must happen. For nation will rise against nation and kingdom against kingdom, right? Something the U.S. has sought to avoid since the war in Gaza inflamed tensions beginning in 2023. Officials caution it's not clear that Israeli leaders have made a final decision and that in fact there is deep disagreement. Look at this. Deep disagreement within the U.S. government about the likelihood that Israel will ultimately act. Wow. So much tension and rumors and conflict. Whether and how Israel strikes will likely depend on what it thinks of the U.S. negotiations with Tehran over its nuclear program. But the chance of an Israeli strike on an Iranian nuclear facility has gone up significantly in recent months, said another person familiar with U.S. intelligence on the issue, and the prospect of a Trump-negotiated U.S.-Iran deal that doesn't remove all of Iran's uranium makes the chance of a strike more likely. The heightened worries stem not only from public and private messaging from senior Israeli officials that is considered such a move, but also from intercepted Israeli communications and observations of Israeli military movements that could suggest an imminent strike, multiple sources say. Let me read that again. So these worries are not just conversations they're having in backroom war rooms, guys. Again, this is coming from public and private messaging from senior Israeli officials, also from interception of Israeli communications and observations of military movements that are all suggesting an imminent strike. Now remember, y'all remember a couple years ago, we were hearing this information being leaked before Putin and Russia completely invaded Ukraine. Same thing. We heard it was imminent. We heard there was military movement. We heard there was intelligence. We heard there was chatter. We heard there was speculation. And many people blew it off. Many people said it was fake news. Many people said it was just a hogwash. They didn't believe any of it. But here we are, and it's been over 2 years, and this war has drug on. So this is some serious stuff here. Among these military preparations, the U.S. has observed are the movement of air munitions, yes, and the completion of an air exercise, according to 2 officials. But these same indicators could also simply be Israel trying to, quote, pressure Iran to abandon key tenets of its nuclear program by signaling the consequences if it doesn't. That would be saber-rattling, threatening, underscoring the ever-shifting complexities of the White House is navigating. All right, let's go on down here. Trump has, quote, publicly threatened military action against Iran if its administration efforts to negotiate a nuclear deal to limit or eliminate Tehran's nuclear program fail. Let me say that again. Trump has emphasized that if his negotiations fail with Iran, then he would carry out a strike with Israel. Now, again, according to the latest, the supreme leader is saying you could take your nuclear peace deal or whatever you want, your negotiations, and shove them where the sun don't shine. That's basically what he told Trump. So this may be why we're getting this information. In a letter to Iran's supreme leader, now this was back in mid-March, Trump set a 60-day deadline for those efforts to succeed. Now let's do the math, ladies and gentlemen. Mid-March, mid-April, mid-May, mid-June. So that's 30, 60, 90 days. So we got to shave that off. So if we go from March, you got mid-April, mid-May, it's 60 days. So we, right now, as of the recording of this, it is Wednesday, May the 21st. We are right in that 60-day deadline. Now, will Trump carry it out? Will Trump be true to his threat? Will we see a military action against Iran? Now, a senior Western diplomat who met with President Trump earlier this month said that Trump communicated the U.S. would give those negotiations only weeks to succeed before resorting to military strikes. But for now, the White House policy is one of diplomacy. So, again, is there a capitulation going on here? Don't know. Now, according to this report, this has put Israel between a rock and a hard place. Interesting phrase. It has put Israel between a rock and a hard place. Now, why is that an interesting phrase? Here's why. Because if you know Bible prophecy, ladies and gentlemen, Zechariah 12, look what the prophet said. Behold, this is verse 2 of Zechariah chapter 12. I will make Jerusalem a cup of drunkenness to all the surrounding people. When they laid siege against Judah and Jerusalem, and it shall happen in that day, I will make Jerusalem a very heavy stone. For all peoples, all who would heave it away will surely be cut in pieces, though all nations of the earth are gathered against it. Again, I want to emphasize to you, friend, that it's going to happen. All the nations will come together. But listen to that. That is so intriguing to me. So here you have this quote here. Let me pull it back up. And again, this is from this article, that this has put Israel between a rock and a hard place. And then the prophet the prophet Zechariah says that Israel and Jerusalem would become a heavy stone for all the peoples, all the nations who would try to heave it away. Come on, are y'all paying attention? Y'all need to put on let him who has ears to hear, let him hear. Let him have who has eyes to see, let him see what God is revealing in these days. He's showing us these preludes. He's giving us these, I call it the breadcrumbs, laying it all out there, laying the puzzle pieces together. And it's our responsibility to put all these puzzle pieces together and know where we are. Come on, where's the sons of Issachar who have understanding of the times and seasons in which we're in? Now, one would have to, let's step back for a second, guys. Take a deep breath. Think about this for a second. Let's just say, what if? What if the United States with Israel, we'll just, for argument's sake, based on history and the current situation of the relationship with Israel and America, with Netanyahu and Trump, we're going to go ahead and say that they will be allies. And let's just say they carry out a strike against Iran's nuclear facilities. Ladies and gentlemen, the ripple effect of that, the ramifications of this would be massive. We can literally see now some would say that we've already entered into World War III. I don't know if I really agree with that, but this literally could be the trigger point to ignite, if you would, the powder keg to explode into World War III across the Middle East. The ramification. Imagine if we had the 2024 fallout that we had with the anti-Semitism on the rise and the anti-Israel protests on the rise. Think about what's going to happen if this gets carried out. The ramifications politically, the ramifications economically, the ramifications with the tensions and the civil unrest and all these things going on. Could this be why, I'm just throwing this out there, could this be why we saw what we saw yesterday? Now, what are you talking about, preacher? I'm talking about this. In case you didn't know this, maybe some people don't watch the news, guys. They just don't. My wife is one. She doesn't hardly watch the news. She's just not into it. It's funny, we're so polar opposite, but look at this. Trump unveils a plan for a $175 billion project. Now, what is this, Stargate? No, that's a $500 billion 5-year project. This $175 billion project is called the Golden Dome. Of course, it's called the Golden Dome. Everything this guy does, it's the golden. He wants to bring us to the golden years, the golden age, the golden this, the videos that were released about the projection of Gaza. Again, somebody released on the social media, had the giant golden Trump statue. You had the little golden Trump statues in that Gaza video. Then you had the golden goat that was at Mar-a-Lago that was covered in $100 bills with Trump's face that said, "In Trump we trust." So it's the gold, golden. But anyway, $175 billion Golden Dome missile defense shield.
In the campaign, I promised the American people that I would build a cutting-edge missile defense shield to protect our homeland from the threat of foreign missile attack. And that's what we're doing. Today, I'm pleased to announce that.
Now, the timing of this, does he know something we don't? Because, I mean, I haven't seen any news articles lately, and I haven't seen any reports of any imminent threats of missile strikes from Russia, from who? China, Iran. But the timing of this is interesting. Why now? Why rush? Why are we rushing to get this out there? Is it possible because Trump knows that the United States is going to be engaged in a major war in the Middle East with Israel and Iran, and then probably all the other proxies that will be pulled into it, because you've got Syria, you got Lebanon, you got Turkey, you got all these other nations. I'm just saying, we're throwing this out there, guys. It's something to think about. Y'all need to think about this.
We have officially selected an architecture for this state-of-the-art system that will deploy next-generation technologies across the land, sea, and space, including space-based sensors and interceptors. And Canada has called us, and they want to be a part of it. So we'll be talking to them. They want to have protection also. So as usual, we help Canada do the best we can. This design for the Golden Dome will integrate with our existing defense capabilities and should be fully operational before the end of my term. So we'll have it done in about 3 years.
So he's saying that this Golden Dome missile shield, it's going to cost almost $200 billion, is going to be complete in 3 years, along with Stargate, which is 5 years. Interesting. Wow.
Once fully constructed, the Golden Dome will be capable of intercepting missiles even if they are launched from other sides of the world and even if they are launched from space. And we will have the best system ever built. As you know, we helped Israel with theirs, and it was very successful. And now we have technology that's even far advanced from that, but including hypersonic missiles, ballistic missiles, and advanced cruise missiles. All of them will be knocked out of the air. We will truly be completing the job that President Reagan started 40 years ago, forever ending the missile threat to the American homeland, and the success rate is very close to 100%, which is incredible when you think of it. You're shooting bullets out of the air. I'm also pleased to report that the one big, beautiful bill will include $25 billion for the Golden Dome to help construction get underway. That's the initial sort of a down deposit. And we have...
Where are we getting this money, too? I'm just saying. Aren't we still like trillions of dollars in debt? I don't know. Maybe could somebody help me out in the chat? And do we have like money that we don't know about? I'm just saying, I don't know where this money's coming from.
Probably you're talking about, General, we're talking about $175 billion total cost of this when it's completed. Wow. This afternoon, I'm also announcing that I will appoint, very importantly, General Gutlein to lead the ambitious new effort as the direct reporting program manager for the Golden Dome. Very talented man, and I'm very honored to have been the one that helped to have really created Space Force. Space Force has turned out to be a tremendous success. We were third in space, and now we're number one in space.
All right, guys. He goes in and they ask questions again. You can find more details on that. So this is the timing of this to me is interesting. Now China chimed in. They didn't like this idea. Of course they didn't. But let's give you their perspective on this Golden Dome.
Okay, so let's talk about how some of our adversaries are feeling about the president's announcement yesterday. Chinese Foreign Ministry put out this statement this morning saying this undermines global strategic balance and stability. China expresses serious concern over this. We urge the United States to abandon the development and deployment of a global missile defense system as soon as possible. I mean, this is a defensive technology. So how do you feel about that and where they're coming from here?
Well, what we've seen historically is that the thing that leads to conflict is a lack of deterrence. Yeah. And so our belief, along with the administration, is that having strong deterrence is the best way to deter conflict. And so we're looking forward to partnering with General Gutlein and the administration to roll this out and make the world safe for peace and prosperity.
There it is again, peace and prosperity. Now, speaking of peace and prosperity, Saudi Arabia and France to impose Palestinian State without Israeli input. Now, we're going to get really deep into this. A June UN-backed conference will establish binding timeline for Palestinian State with sanctions for non-compliance while disregarding Israel's security concerns and not requiring Palestinian recognition of Israel. Now, what is this about? World leaders are gathering under the banners of France and Saudi Arabia next month, in the month of June, to press forward with a plan that threatens the very survival of the Jewish state. We're talking about a unilateral recognition of a Palestinian state. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. You want, again, Zechariah 12 and Joel 3. Most of you guys are familiar with Zechariah 12, but I want to show you Joel 3. The prophet Joel echoes the words of Zechariah, but he goes into even more detail. And Joel chapter 3, verse 2 says that God will gather the nations, bring them to the valley of Jehoshaphat, and will enter into judgment with them there. Now, this is the war of Armageddon. This happens at the end of the tribulation. Now look what it says here. On the account of my people, my heritage Israel, whom they have scattered among the nations, and whom they have also divided my land. So Joel makes it very clear, ladies and gentlemen, that the nations of the world that divide Israel, God will pay attention to this. He will not turn a blind eye to this, and they will be judged because God Almighty has a covenant with the nation of Israel. He made that covenant and established it in Genesis chapter 12 when he told Abraham, I will bless those who bless you and I will curse those who curse you. Now, here we have this joint effort cloaked in a diplomatic jargon and all kinds of legalities with a humanitarian rhetoric that is in reality a strategic campaign to completely divide Israel. So in the cloak of, or in the guise of quote unquote peace, it will pressure Israel and they will attempt to punish them for defending itself. Let me get a little bit more into this. Under President Emmanuel Macron, France and Saudi Arabia, one of the most prolific funders of Palestinian causes, are joining hand in hand to host this summit, and it's going to be in New York City, here on American soil. This upcoming summit has one goal, and that is to pressure a global community to come against Israel, to recognize a Palestinian state, regardless of Israel's security, their sovereignty, or reality. Now, in case you think this is fake news, British Foreign Secretary David Lammy, representing the UK's new left-leaning government, has confirmed active talks with France and Saudi Arabia to formalize this recognition. France's foreign minister went so far as to call Israel's military actions in Gaza indefensible. We just listened to the video clip of this. While advocating for a European review of economic ties with Israel, Canada, under the newly seated Prime Minister Mark Carney, has joined Britain and France in a joint statement warning Israel of, quote, further concrete actions if it does not halt operations in Gaza. So, folks, listen to me. Things are heating up. Things are intensifying. The birth pangs of the Messiah are increasing, and we are alive for such a time as this. Literally, we are the generation, I believe, ladies and gentlemen, that are going to see some extraordinary events, and we're seeing Bible prophecy accelerating like never before. So I want to we want to leave you with what we always say. In Luke 21:28, Jesus said, when you begin to see all of these things coming to pass, look up and lift up your heads, because your redemption is drawing near. Again, guys, endtimeheadlines.org, endtimeheadlines.com. That's going to be our main website. Be sure to bookmark it. Be sure to pick up our free app today, available on Apple and Android devices. And as always, guys, if this ministry is a blessing to you, if you enjoy our content, our information, our revelation, our equipping messages, our live devotionals we do on Monday nights, all of the above, whatever your relationship is with this ministry, we want to encourage you to pray about becoming a monthly partner. You can do that two different ways. Again, if you're new to the program, we've got a lot of new subscribers. We don't sell any merchandise, guys. We don't sell no t-shirts, no merchandise whatsoever, no books. We don't. There's no subscription fees. The app is free. All of our podcasts are free. All we ask is if the Lord has blessed you and you're blessed by this ministry in any form or fashion, pray about becoming a partner of our ministry. This helps us continue to do what we do, and you can do that two different ways. You can give electronically through the app, through the website, right there on YouTube. It's pinned up at the top where it says support, PayPal, Cash App, Venmo. We have so many different ways of doing that. You can do that electronically, or you can give by check or money order right there on your screen at End Time Headlines, P.O. Box 1391, Monroe, Georgia 30655. So, guys, that wraps up another podcast for us on this Wednesday, May 21st. We plan on, Lord willing, being back here, right here in the studio tomorrow night on the 22nd, on Thursday night, Same time, same place, same channel, 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern. Until we see you guys on the next one, I pray the Lord bless you. May he keep you, and may his countenance shine upon you. We'll see you then.
Thank you for listening to the End Time Headlines podcast. We pray that you've been blessed and equipped by today's message. For more information about how you can help partner with our ministry, please visit endtimeheadlines.org.